The rain hammered against the windows of Fort Bradshaw's military headquarters, blurring the outlines of soldiers rushing between buildings. Inside, General Amelia Cross stood rigid before the massive glass pane of her office, staring into the storm. Her reflection, a tall woman in her late 30s with piercing gray eyes and a scar slicing across her brow, looked every bit the warrior the nation admired. But behind that steel facade, a storm much darker raged inside her heart. For years, she had built her life around discipline and command, burying every trace of the woman she once was, the young nurse who had fallen in love before war and duty had consumed her world. She believed she'd buried that part of her forever, until that day. It began like any other Friday inspection. Amelia strode through the lower corridors of the base, her boots clicking sharply on the linoleum floors. Her soldiers straightened at attention as she passed, saluting respectfully. But at the end of the hallway stood someone who didn't salute. A janitor. He was tall but slightly stooped, wearing an old gray uniform with a patch that read Daniel Rivers. His brown hair was streaked with gray, and his hands were calloused, the kind that spoke of years of quiet, unseen labor. Amelia stopped, irritation flashing across her face. "You missed a spot," she said curtly, pointing to a muddy footprint near the doorway. Daniel turned, met her gaze, and froze. His face went pale, and the mop slipped from his hand, water splattering across the floor. "General," his voice trembled slightly. "Forgive me, ma'am. He swallowed hard, eyes wide with disbelief. Amelia frowned. "Is there a problem, Mr. Rivers?" He hesitated, his lips parting as if to speak, but then he simply nodded and bent down to clean the floor. "See that it doesn't happen again," Amelia muttered, brushing past him. But as she walked away, she couldn't shake the feeling that something about him was hauntingly familiar. That night, Daniel sat at the small kitchen table of his modest apartment, watching his 16-year-old daughter, Lily, laughing softly as she tried to help him fix the broken toaster. She was bright and full of life, with her mother's green eyes and his easy smile. "Dad, you can't just jam the knife in there. You'll electrocute yourself," she said, giggling. "Hey, I've been fixing things longer than you've been alive," Daniel replied with a grin. Then, as Lily reached to grab the screwdriver, her sleeve lifted slightly, and Daniel saw it again. The tattoo. A small black swallow on her wrist. He froze, staring. "Dad, what's wrong?" she asked. He shook his head, forcing a smile. "Nothing, sweetheart. Just that tattoo. You never told me why you picked it." Lily shrugged. "I don't know. I saw it once in a photo. It just felt familiar. Like it meant something." Daniel's heart sank. He knew that tattoo. He remembered tracing it once with his fingertips on a woman's skin, long ago, back when he was a field medic in Afghanistan. Her name had been Amelia Cross. The next morning, Daniel could barely focus on his work. Every time he saw the general's face flash on the security screens, his mind raced. Could it really be her? The woman he'd fallen in love with on the battlefield. The one who vanished after the bombing that left him hospitalized for months. He had searched for her, written letters that were never answered. When he returned home, broken and jobless, he discovered she had been promoted, and engaged to another officer. Or so he was told. And then, months later, a baby girl had been left at an orphanage in South Carolina, Lily. The adoption agency had said her mother was a deployed nurse who couldn't return. He never questioned it, he just knew he had to protect that little girl. Now, standing in the cold hallway of the base, everything came rushing back. The tattoo, the name, the timing, the impossible truth forming in his chest. Later that afternoon, Amelia exited her meeting and nearly collided with Daniel in the corridor. Papers scattered across the floor. "I'm sorry, General," Daniel said quickly, bending to pick them up. Amelia crouched down too, and their hands touched. For a brief moment, her eyes locked with his, and something flickered there. Recognition. Fear. "Have we met before?" she asked slowly. Daniel hesitated. His voice was quiet but steady. "I think we have, ma'am. A long time ago, in Kandahar." Amelia's breath caught. "What did you say?" He looked at her, tears forming in his eyes. "You had a tattoo on your wrist, a black swallow. You said it meant freedom after pain." Her world tilted. She took a step back, whispering, "Who are you?" "I'm Daniel Rivers. You used to call me, Doc." Her eyes widened in shock. "Daniel, you're alive." He nodded. Barely. And there's something else you should know. His hands trembled as he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small photo of Lily. Amelia's lips parted. Why are you showing me this? Because, Daniel said softly, his voice breaking, my daughter has your tattoo. The world fell silent. Amelia staggered back, clutching the wall for support. Memories she'd buried under years of duty and pain came flooding back. The explosion, the chaos, waking up in a field hospital believing Daniel had died. She had been pregnant, alone, and terrified. When the military forced her into active duty again, she was told the baby had been lost during childbirth. But she hadn't been. Tears streamed down Amelia's face as her voice cracked. Where is she? Daniel's voice shook. She's safe. Her name's Lily. She's 16. She's incredible. Amelia pressed a trembling hand to her mouth. My daughter. The general who had never shown emotion before the toughest soldiers in her command was now sobbing in the arms of a janitor. A week later, Amelia arrived at Daniel's home in civilian clothes, her heart pounding. Lily opened the door. Hi, Amelia said softly, unsure how to start. Lily tilted her head. Do I know you? Amelia smiled through tears. Not yet, but I've known you your whole life. Daniel watched from behind, tears glistening in his eyes as mother and daughter embraced for the first time. Months passed. Amelia stepped down from active command, devoting her time to rebuilding the family she thought she'd lost. Daniel continued his quiet work at the base, though now he was often seen sitting with the general in the park, watching Lily chase the sunset, her swallow tattoo glinting in the light. Life had scarred them both, but love had found a way through the wreckage.